After taking down the Underlord, our protagonist really thought life was about to turn chill-like. Go home, marry 4 or 5 MILFs, and spend the rest of his days buried in bed, kind of chill. But nope. My prayers got answered, and turns out he was just bait. His so-called teammates stabbed him in the back, and boom, he died. But of course, he wasn't staying dead. Otherwise, how the hell would this manhwa even continue? So yeah, he gets reincarnated 15 years before his death. Now he's out for revenge. And by the way, with him, someone also reincarnated, and that was the Underlord, this half-goat and half-bat-looking fuck. So yeah, let's get into it. The manhwa begins with our main character, Aiden Alberio, famed as the strongest dragon slayer, ended the demon lord's reign with a final blow only to be cursed, losing his humanity and turning into the very demon he destroyed. In that moment, his comrades betrayed him, sacrificing him without hesitation to save themselves. Instead of dying, he awoke in an unfamiliar, lavish room, greeted by a woman calling him her son. He had been reborn as Aiden Reams, a duke's son, 15 years before his death. Memories of this life revealed a shameful truth. The original Aiden was a drunken brute who harassed women, picked fights, and survived only because of his title. Unsure if his past as Aiden Alberio was real, he checked his system. His powers from consuming the Berserker's heart and training under mercenary King Master Valken were still intact. Yet, in this world, no one knew Aiden Alberio, and even his servant Philip claimed Valken never had a disciple. Servants gossiped over his sudden politeness, thinking illness had changed him. Determined to find his betrayers, Aiden explored the estate and noticed Knight's training. Carl Reese, his younger brother and a respected knight, approached with disdain, mocking him for drinking and treating training as a spectacle. But Aiden simply smiled and challenged a knight to spar. Carl was stunned. His brother had never touched a sword. Facing apprentice knight Bison, the onlookers assumed Bison would fake a loss to appease Aiden. Bison, insulted to face a drunkard infamous for losing to stray dogs, prepared for what he thought would be an easy match. Aiden suspected Bison might intentionally throw the fight, so he warned him to go all out, adding that losing to a man like him would be humiliating for an apprentice knight. He even told Bison to kick him aside if he lost. Carl, convinced his brother had lost his mind, couldn't believe he was challenging a squire without ever holding a sword before. When the duel began, Aiden quickly realized his body was weaker than expected, yet he pressed on. Onlookers worried for Bison, who fought seriously, but their shock grew when he failed to defeat Aiden. Blow after blow, Aiden remained standing, sword in hand, the thrill of combat igniting a rush he hadn't felt in years. Carl and Bison were stunned. This was the same man once terrified of stray dogs. Years of luxury had dulled his edge, but in that moment, Aiden knew he was still Aiden Alberio, Dragon Slayer. The match turned fierce, both trading strikes until Bison began to falter. Gasps rose when the disgraced young master bested the squire. Aiden thanked Carl for the idea and vowed to spar regularly with the knights, urging them to train harder. Back in his room, exhaustion hit hard. His body strained from even a short fight, but he felt strangely refreshed. It was a welcome release of frustration, a reminder of his true self, and a step toward the revenge he planned to claim. Aiden knew he was far from matching his former companion's warriors, so skilled they could be called one-man armies. His enemies included Sylvetta, the Night King and heir to the Grand Duchy of Sears, Spia, the Iron Blood Saint of the Carnage Cult, and Callus, second Imperial Prince of the Immortalia Empire and famed great alchemist. Even at his peak, fighting them together was nearly impossible, so he planned to face them one by one, aiming to defeat them within 5 years before the Allied forces formed to target the Warlocks. But first, he had to rebuild this frail body into something capable of more than fending off a goblin. Calling Philip to his room, he handed him a list of herbs. Philip's curiosity turned to concern upon seeing deadly ingredients: hell lily, angst flower, lunatic grass. When asked why he wanted such dangerous plants, Aiden hid his true plan, slipping into his old intimidating persona. He warned of severe consequences for prying and, with a twisted edge, offered to make Philip his toy again. Frightened, Philip fled, promising to get the herbs. Aiden knew he wouldn't have resorted to such methods before, but as a duke's wealthy son, he had the resources to take a different approach. Besides, after today's spar, he'd reached swordmaster level with ease, proof he still had the skill, but needed strategy, especially since such vices were rare here. A month and a half later, while training with his sword, Philip returned, carrying his mana potion. The mana potion Philip brought was worth a month's salary for most, but as the duke's son, Aiden could afford it. It restored his strength after intense training. Confirming Philip had bought everything, Aiden returned to his room and checked the herbs. Every dangerous one was there. Callus and Shaula had once claimed such herbs could help unlock hidden potential, so, recalling he'd already survived death once, he began consuming them. Pain dropped him to the floor, yet he forced himself to continue, noting how his mana flow grew smoother. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed. Servants rushed in but were ordered out, confirming it wasn't a hallucination. The voice belonged to the Underlord, who greeted him as Dragon Slayer King Aiden Alberio. Aiden demanded his identity and motives. The Underlord revealed he had no physical body. In Aiden's final moments, he had been on the verge of becoming the Underlord himself. Upon Aiden's death, the Underlord transferred his soul into his body, intending to revive by claiming his organs and viscera. Realizing the soul was inside him, Aiden considered killing it by flooding himself with holy power, or dying again. The Underlord quickly claimed he had changed. Aiden doubted him, remembering his love for chaos, but the Underlord explained it was due to the Demon Lord's influence, severed when Aiden was in the void. Calmer now, he explained the demon god known as the ultimate sin embodied all the world's evil, feared even by the gods. Once cursed to serve him, the Underlord denied orchestrating the current events. When Aiden asked if his regression into Rem's body was part of the plan, the answer remained unclear. The Underlord confirmed it was his doing. Whenever he possessed the dragon's mana, time would rewind. Aiden was stunned, but the Underlord explained that dragons were created by God to alter nature's laws, so such feats weren't difficult. When asked why he hadn't fixed his own situation in the void, the Underlord admitted he was tired and needed rest. A month later, Aiden trained with a scarecrow, uneasy about having the Underlord inside him, yet oddly comforted that someone knew his past self. Lost in thought, he broke the scarecrow and decided to find new training targets, spotting knights nearby. The Underlord teased that Aiden could be more villain than hero, prompting Aiden to threaten him with holy potion, which made him instantly back down. Aiden noticed a knight he didn't recognize until the coach called him Lo. Memories rushed back. Lo had been a chivalrous S-class mercenary who once saved him, but died fighting the berserk dragon. Realizing he might truly be in the past, Aiden approached and scolded Lo for informal speech, amusing himself by making the man nervous. Reading Lo's mind unsettled him further, and Aiden invited him to evening training, whispering something that left Lo shocked. That evening, Lo arrived and immediately asked how Aiden knew his secret. Before Aiden could respond, Lo burst into tears, asking if there was any way to fix his arm. During a casual drink, Lo confessed that if his right arm were intact, he might have been a great knight. Known as Nimble One-Armed Lo, his deepest wish was to regain its use, and Aiden planned to fulfill it. Later, on the training grounds, Aiden whispered that he knew Lo's arm was stiff, shocking him since he had never told anyone. Lo asked if it could be fixed, but Aiden explained he had vasoconstriction syndrome, a mana channel disease believed incurable. Still, Aiden claimed he could cure it, though only by forming a contract. The terms were simple yet binding. Lo would spar whenever asked and obey all commands. Lo hesitated, calling it a slave contract, but with no alternatives he agreed, ignoring the danger his instincts warned about. Aiden, inwardly scheming, planned to one day make Lo his slave and take his prized item. The Underlord smugly remarked that the Dragon Slayer leaned toward evil, but Aiden told him to shut it. Days later, they traveled to the small town of Marilyn. Lo doubted such a shabby place could hold a cure, but Aiden urged faith. They reached a house-like building with a signboard insisting it was not a clinic and had no medicines, herbs, or drugs. Aiden entered anyway, recalling that Lo once came here seeking help. While no cure had been found, someone here had researched vasoconstriction syndrome. They began searching for the owner, but the place remained silent. Lo noticed a painting and asked about it. Aiden explained it was the Philosopher's Stone, a so-called alchemical relic believed to trespass into God's realm. He believed there was truth in it, given he had defied death and gone back in time, though his knowledge came from Shaula and Callus. Soon, a figure appeared, and Aiden sent Lo outside. Alone, he revealed the woman was Kathy, a werebeast alchemist searching for a cure to vasoconstriction syndrome. He also exposed that she had the disease herself, surviving only through smoked herbs. Kathy admitted she hadn't found a cure, so Aiden handed her notes containing the solution he'd memorized from overhearing Shaula and Callus. She was stunned and requested half a month to make a permanent cure. Aiden agreed, but demanded her ring in return. The Ring of Speed, capable of tripling physical speed for 10 seconds 3 times a day, had once belonged to Lo and enabled his feats despite one arm. Though valuable, Kathy gave it up on the condition she moved to the Duke's mansion with food and shelter provided. Aiden boasted that as the Duke's scumbag, no one would question him. Returning to the mansion with Kathy and Lo, Aiden felt oddly at home until Philip came running in panic. He reported that young Master Carl had gone missing in Monster Mountain. Carl had gone to rescue someone lost there, but neither he nor several knights had returned for 2 days. Aiden knew the mountain was mostly harmless, but feared that if Carl didn't return, he might be forced into succession, ruining his revenge plans. A search party was about to depart. Aiden told Philip to arrange accommodations for Kathy, which surprised him, then asked Kathy for a favor. Requesting to join the search party, Aiden's father refused, until Aiden pretended deep concern for Carl's safety. Touched, his father hugged him and allowed it, entrusting him to Sir Spale, vice-captain of the Reims Knight Order. At Monster Mountain, they found signs of an attack. From the weapons, Aiden deduced goblins were involved, but their cunning suggested hobgoblins. He warned Sir Spale, who hesitated to proceed, yet Aiden insisted, ordering a search dog. Feeding it a scent enhancement potion from Kathy, the dog quickly tracked the trail to a goblin village. There, Carl and his team were imprisoned. Before advancing, they spotted 3 hobgoblins, formidable even for trained knights. Sir Spale advised Aiden to rescue the hostages and leave, which he agreed to, trusting the knights to fight. The search party charged, freeing the prisoners as Aiden broke the cage. Carl was shocked to see his brother saving them, praising his courage. With the hostages freed, Aiden told the knights to aid the search party against the hobgoblins and evacuate villagers. Just as he prepared to leave, Carl shouted for him to watch out. A giant monster loomed behind him. Thinking Carl meant the hobgoblin, Aiden turned too late and was struck by the massive creature. Aiden realizes the 3 hobgoblins mean a stronger creature is nearby, a troll, the deadliest of human-shaped demons. He tells Carl to escape with the villagers, insisting he can handle it as the elder brother. Carl still sees him as a good-for-nothing, but the troll attacks without mercy. Aiden fights back with his sword, yet the monster shrugs off every blow. Knowing his current strength isn't enough, he searches for another way. The knights panic at the sight, and Sir Spieler, bound by duty, rushes to help. As the troll strikes again, Aiden leaps away, the ring from Cassie gleaming in his hand. Activating the Ring of Swiftness, he gains 10 seconds of near-light speed. At 8 seconds, he slashes the troll's arm. At 6, he lands multiple wounds. In the next 3, he unleashes a relentless assault, and with the final second, he beheads it. Breathing hard, he knows this is the sword aura he must master, even with his imperfect body. Meanwhile, Sir Spieler orders his knights to assist until he sees Aiden bathed in the blue light radiating from his sword, leaving him frozen in shock. At first, Sir Spieler can't place the glow, then realizes Aiden has awakened sword aura, something he, a knight commander, never achieved. Aiden, drained from the ring's strain, collapses on a tree branch, startling birds. The 10 seconds of sword aura leave his body aching and trembling, and he resolves to use the Ring of Swiftness sparingly. While the knights search for him, he clings to the branch until found, and they all return home. The next day, Lord Raimi learns of the attack and orders compensation for affected families. Yet what shocks him most is hearing that his scandalous son slew a troll and awakened sword aura, confirmed by Sir Spieler in the Knights. In his room, Aiden meditates, channeling sword aura to grow his mana, but knows it's not enough. Determined to get stronger for revenge, he's interrupted by a strange voice. Before him stands a smug king of the underworld, a tiny, odd creature, half lamb, half bat. Aiden bursts into laughter, irritating the Underlord, who blames Aiden's weakness for his small form. Once Aiden calms, the Underlord reveals only he can see him and will manifest more as Aiden grows stronger. Disgusted, Aiden dismisses him and points out that Underlord is merely a cursed title passed to whoever inherits the soul of the previous one. When Aiden asks the Underlord's real name, the creature admits he lost it long ago, existing only to endure. Aiden names him Curse, since he's literally his curse, and ignores the Underlord's protests about laziness. Eventually, the Underlord gives in, and Aiden sticks with it. A week later, Aiden visits Cassie for news about the cure, but is greeted with the nickname Lord Troll. Irritated, he asks about Ro, and Cassie says he's inside. Aiden finds Ro emotional, able to move his arm again, and swearing lifelong service. Pleased, Aiden accepts. Cassie says her illness is unlike any normal syndrome and needs another month of research. He praises her, but her second Lord Troll pushes his patience. Ro's snort earns him a task manual labor, which soon leaves him sick. Unbothered, Aiden meets a merchant to sell the troll's corpse, knowing its rarity makes it valuable. He trades it for medicinal herbs, though the merchant hesitates at the poisonous ones. Aiden's cold reminder quickly silences him. Smirking at the easy deal, Aiden proves his mercenary habits remain. Philip arrives with news his father has summoned him. Aiden enters, only to find another guest with his father. The man chuckles, remarking that the rumors about him are true. Aiden is indeed the troll slayer, but when greeted warmly by the man before him, his face stays cold. In his past life, this same man bullied him for being a mere mercenary. Forcing civility, Aiden greets him, Margrave Tiri Cetus, guardian of the northeastern border and one of the Empire's few sword masters. This rank, the pinnacle of knighthood, grants superhuman strength, able to cleave mountains with a single swing. Aiden once held that title and now aims for it again. Cetus, impressed by Aiden's polite demeanor despite his reputation, praises Lord Rem for raising such a son. The talk shifts to rumors of orc raids on Cetus's lands. He adds that orcs have appeared near the church's slaughter tower in the desolate Westlands, sparking Aiden's interest. It may hide his old ally, the Iron Blood Saint. Cetus suspects coordinated monster activity across multiple territories and proposes an alliance. Then, Cetus invites Aiden to join his knightly ranks, shocking Lord Rem. Ignoring protests, Cetus vows to make Aiden the best swordsman in the West, impressed by his sword aura. After considering, Aiden declines, stating he respects Cetus's unmatched order but intends to become a swordmaster on his own. He had done it in his past life and intended to do it again. His expression turned arrogant as he challenged Cetus to a spar, determined to at least scratch him. Lord Rams nearly collapsed at his son's audacity, but Cetus, intrigued, unleashed his sword aura, making the air tremble. Aiden stood firm, unfazed, and baited him with a bet. If Aiden lost, he'd join Cetus's knightly order, but if he landed a scratch, Cetus would give him his sword. Cetus, stunned at first, laughed at the bold demand, noting how different Aiden was from his father who had already fainted. Underlord quickly realized Aiden's aim was Cetus's legendary sword, Bible, and Aiden admitted it. When both were ready, Aiden protested that using such a powerful sword against him was unfair. Cetus, skeptical, asked if he was an ogre or goblin, but declared that as a knight, he must fight seriously. Realizing Cetus was unchanged from his past life, Aiden set 2 conditions: no sword aura and Cetus couldn't move his right foot. Even with these limits, Cetus remained dangerous. The crowd gathered as the fight began. Aiden charged, his first strike aimed at Cetus's neck, showing real battle skill, but Cetus blocked it with ease. As expected, every relentless swing met Cetus's effortless defense. Cetus mocked Aiden's loose swings, saying they were fit for a lowly mercenary and offering to train him properly. Even Underlord sensed the deep bitterness between them, while Aiden's anger grew. Tightening his grip, he vowed to show Cetus the true edge of a mercenary's blade. Cetus, bored by the predictable patterns, was caught off guard when Aiden's strike nearly scratched him. Unbeknownst to Cetus, the style he dismissed was the Nightbreaker. Gasps followed as Aiden pushed him back, proving he really had slain the troll. Lord Rams couldn't believe his son was matching a swordmaster. Cetus finally took him seriously, recognizing the sloppy yet precise attacks aimed at his weak points. The match turned exciting for him, but when he raised his sword for a killing blow, Aiden dodged. Underlord warned him not to block such a strike. Cetus praised his skill, urging him to give up, but Aiden refused. Amused, Cetus welcomed him to his night order in advance. Aiden thanked him in advance too, then moved with sudden, impossible speed, scratching Cetus's shoulder. He claimed the sword as his, leaving the crowd stunned before erupting in cheers. Exhausted, Aiden faced Underlord's taunt about using a ring against Cetus, but he felt no guilt. Underlord called him a con artist rather than a hero. Cetus, despite losing, praised Aiden for hiding his strength. Pretending to be humble, Aiden still felt disappointed. He had aimed to take Cetus's arm, but only managed to scratch. True to his word, Cetus happily handed over his sword, and Aiden accepted it with polite thanks, hiding his inner grin. Underlord quickly taunted him, and later, in his room, Aiden inspected the legendary blade. When Underlord addressed him as Dragon Slayer, Aiden knew he wanted something. Smirking, Underlord claimed to know a secret about the sword that no human did, demanding a lifetime of devotion in exchange. But his smugness vanished when Aiden performed a blood pact with the sword, a hidden requirement. Shocked, Underlord asked how he knew. Aiden revealed he had seen Underlord's men wielding the demonic weapon. Balable, the sword, was forged from the Lords of Corruption and contained their power. Awakening it required 3 steps, the first being a blood pact, already done. Underlord sulked like a child losing an advantage, only to quickly apologize when Aiden mentioned using his holy potion. Now aiming for the second condition, Aiden approached Lord Rams to join Cetus's investigation team. His father refused, saying the mission was far more dangerous than the mountains of demonic creatures. Aiden argued that Cetus would protect him. Cetus, sipping tea nearby, assured Lord Rams of this, but Rams still warned it wasn't a walk in the park. Wanting to safeguard his territory, Rams granted Cetus the favor, leaving Aiden grinning at how, unlike in his past life, Cetus was now serving his plans. Underlord scoffed, uninterested in serving the country. He only cared about awakening his blade. Aiden agreed but had no choice. The mission would let him spill enough blood to meet the sword's second condition. His eagerness to kill monsters almost made Underlord pity them. At the Pier mountain range, smaller monsters fled from larger predators. Aiden's group arrived at Attila Fortress, built to keep them at bay, only to find sloppy soldiers who looked unfit to fight goblins, let alone bigger threats. The gate opened to reveal Timon, the fortress chief officer, who greeted them but drew attention by calling Aiden Lord Troll. Whispers spread, debating whether it was due to killing a troll or resembling one. Ro bristled with anger, but Aiden ignored them, too high to stoop to such insults. Cetus casually remarked about the fresh air making bugs buzz, then glared at Timon until the gossip ceased. Timon reported strange monster activity in other regions. When Aiden asked about his own territory, Timon answered Cetus instead, assuring safety. Irritated, Aiden listened as Cetus reminded him that his land was home to demonic creatures. Timon explained that orcs in the middle range kept other monsters out, a logic Aiden questioned. At that moment, Underlord, sensing danger, warned that something big was approaching. While glancing under the bridge, he spotted something unusual and urged Timon to close the gate. Timon dismissed it as a joke, but Suze's serious tone startled him. Seduce then looked ahead grimly, confirming a wave of monsters was coming and ordered the soldiers to lower the gate. As they worked, a wolf slipped through, but he swiftly killed it before the gate shut. Ignoring the thanks, he told them to guard the gate, focusing instead on feeding life aura into his sword. Seeing the blades glow, the soldiers assumed he had slain the troll, drawing a teasing remark from Underlord. Ro hurried over, asking if he was okay, but he only pointed at the massive horde ahead, itching to kill and feed his blade. Bloodlust surged through him before he caught himself, recalling Underlord's warning about Balibel, the gluttonous sword that stirs primal hunger. Determined to stay cautious, he prepared to feed it, but Cetus announced he'd clear the monsters instead. Frustrated, he begged for at least some, yet Cetus slaughtered them all effortlessly, leaving him questioning his purpose. Timon thanked them for handling the threat with minimal damage, but Underlord then revealed the earlier warning hadn't been about the monster wave. Realization struck as he froze, looking up to see a massive fireball hurtling toward them. He quickly warned everyone to take cover as a massive fireball hurtled toward the city. Seduce, baffled by such powerful magic, suspected a mage, but Aiden knew better. It was the same threat that nearly killed him in his past life. Shock rippled through the ranks as orcs and trolls appeared together, sworn enemies now allied. Even Cetus was ready to face them, but Aiden cautioned that he couldn't handle it alone. Pointing past the horde, he revealed the true danger. A high troll, a monster with power and mana on par with a swordmaster. Cetus, sword aura blazing, ordered Aiden and Timon to evacuate villagers while he held the enemy back. But Aiden had another plan. Cetus doubted it, arguing the High Troll and its army were beyond him. Ignoring this, Aiden instructed Ro to hold the line with the soldiers, then quickly devised a strategy to target the orcs. He assigned Cetus a specific task, sparking Timon's protest that without Cetus they'd be crushed. A second fireball slammed into the fortress wall, shattering it. Cetus called Aiden's idea reckless, but Aiden urged him to trust him. Remembering their bet to save the territory, Cetus relented with a smile, warning that if they lost, Aiden would join his Night Order. Aiden agreed. Once Cetus left, Underlord asked if he was certain it was the same High Troll. Aiden confirmed only such a creature could force trolls and orcs, natural enemies, to work together. Meanwhile, the trolls advanced, mercilessly crushing the soldiers. Ro leapt high, aiming for a troll. In recent days, Aiden had fed him poisonous herbs to boost his strength, but these undead trolls under the High Troll's command weren't easy to kill. The High Troll, wielding a fiery staff, seized a dead troll's head and resurrected it, turning the fight into an endless cycle. Normally, it would take an archmage's magic and a swordmaster's blade to kill a High Troll, but Aiden had another plan. Calmly calling to his bloodthirsty sword, Balabel, he promised it a troll's blood. Ro watched in disbelief as the troll he'd just slain rose again. Before it struck, Aiden landed on its head, praised Ro, and drove his blade into its body. Ro warned that decapitation wouldn't work, but Aiden ignored him, urging Balabel to drink deeply. The sword drained the troll's life essence, killing it instantly, something even the High Troll hadn't expected. The kill left Aiden hungering for more, the feast greater than a pack of wolves could provide. Turning to the orcs, he considered quenching his bloodlust further. Soon he brought down 4 trolls, each drained but leaving Balabel unsatisfied. Enraged, the High Troll raised his staff, deeming Aiden worthy of his magic. Multiple fireballs hurtled toward him, but Aiden dodged swiftly. The High Troll's irritation was clear, and Underlord suggested he stop running and face the monster head-on. For Aiden, running wasn't just retreat, it was survival. His past life taught him that one fireball could end him, so he had to stall until Cetus returned. An orc's sudden axe swing drew Underlord's advice to drain its life force, but Aiden had other plans, keeping the orcs alive for later. His focus snapped back as the High Troll's blazing magic scorched the battlefield, forcing him to leap into the air with the ring of swiftness. Trolls burned everything in sight, but mid-air he realized he couldn't dodge another fireball. Luck intervened when Cetus appeared, shielding him with his aura blade and dousing the flames. Aiden was relieved to see Cetus had brought the Orc Chief. Just as his swiftness wore off, he began to fall, but the Orc Chief caught him, stunning everyone. The chief turned to his kin with tearful regret for failing them earlier, then rallied them to strike the trolls. The battlefield shifted. Trolls now faced humans and orcs united. The High Troll had controlled the orcs by holding their chief and children hostage, but Aiden, foreseeing their value, had spared them. Furious, the High Troll's plans unraveled as Cetus launched an attack. The monster countered with a fireball, proving Aiden's earlier claim that Cetus alone couldn't win. But now, with the Orc Chief, a swordmaster on their side, the fight had truly changed, much to the High Troll's growing rage. Cetus, frustrated, was eager to end the fight, but the High Troll wasn't going down so easily. Driven by vengeance for his slain parents, it gathered all its mana, preparing to turn itself into a deadly bomb. Assessing the danger, Cetus ordered the soldiers to flee, only to see Aiden charging forward instead, a manic grin on his face as he stabbed his sword into the troll. The fire magic inside grew unstable, and Cetus wondered if Aiden had any plan to survive the blast. Aiden's grin faded as the troll's overwhelming life force flooded into him. Unable to handle it alone, he reluctantly called for the Underlord's help. Amused, the Underlord agreed, on the condition Aiden avoided drinking holy poison for a week. The sword had absorbed enough life force, now they needed to awaken the dormant lord of corruption within it. At the Underlord's command, the sword's eyes opened, revealing the will of a starved, power-hungry king. Though the sword hesitated, it submitted when the Underlord asserted dominance, recognizing his reign as the one who had defeated all lords of corruption. With the weapon under his control, the Underlord reminded Aiden of his promise. Aiden drove the blade deeper into the troll, ordering it to devour its life force. Empowered by the awakened lord of corruption, the sword tore into the troll's essence as it roared in defiance. A tornado of raw power swirled as the High Troll's essence was devoured, forcing Cetus to warn everyone to brace against the winds. When it finally cleared, Aiden stood drenched in sweat, trembling under the crushing mana from the Sword of Gluttony. His body couldn't process it all, and he collapsed, violently nauseated. The Underlord mocked him for not discarding the excess, but Aiden's greed refused to let go of any power. Then he spotted a phoenix egg, its life nearly extinguished by the troll's fire magic. Hunger flickered in his eyes as he decided to consume its magic. The Underlord acknowledged the benefit but warned of the risks. Before Aiden could act, Cetus struck his back, forcing the excess mana out right onto the egg. Cetus recognized the egg instantly, while Aiden mourned losing the mana he'd fought to keep. He still tried to absorb it, but the phoenix chick hatched instead. The Underlord dryly suggested Aiden's vomited mana saved it. The majestic bird stunned everyone, even Cetus, though Aiden remained annoyed. To everyone's surprise, the phoenix perched on his head, a golden aura engulfing him. At first, it felt like burning, and he panicked, worried it had sensed his earlier intent to devour it. Aiden quickly realized he wasn't burning. The Underlord explained that the Phoenix, saved by the mana he expelled, now viewed him as its savior and granted him fire resistance. Aiden's expression hardened as he considered using it against his fire mage companion. The Phoenix soon took flight, leaving Cetus to check on him, half expecting he'd been set ablaze. Cetus remarked dryly that life had been chaos since Aiden arrived, while Aiden feigned ignorance. Turning to the Orc chief, Aiden asked why he was here. The Orc vaguely admitted to breaking an oath and offered his head in penance. Aiden learned that long ago the Orc lost a duel to the head of the House of Rems and swore to retreat into the forest to guard the land. Now, having left it, he believed he had broken that vow. Recognizing Aiden as a descendant or even heir, he offered his life. Aiden refused, which only angered the proud warrior, who insisted debts must be repaid. For a moment, Aiden considered granting the wish just to silence him, but decided the Orcs were too valuable for protecting the territory. Then greed sparked an idea. With a sly glint, he proposed an alternative. The clueless Orc agreed, unaware of the trap. Soon, Cetus was stunned to see soldiers grumbling over labor while the Orcs cheerfully hauled sand, unknowingly roped into Aiden's scheme. Since Aiden spared the Orc chief, the Orcs were now paying the debt by handling all the bridge repairs, free labor that benefited everyone except the Orcs. Watching the scene, Cetus muttered that Aiden sometimes sounded like a 1,000-year-old dragon. While observing the repairs, he advised Aiden to leave the rest to the slaughter tower, especially with monster activity from the wasteland increasing. After a brief thought, Aiden agreed he'd gotten what he came for, plus a phoenix blessing. Back home, however, he was grumpy. The crowd cheered like he'd slain a god, someone even handing him a girly flower crown. Wildly exaggerated tales deepened his frown. He hated flashy parades and had no clue who started the rumors. The Underlord taunted him but then genuinely noted the people's admiration, earning only a scoff in return. After enduring the unwanted welcome, Aiden visited Cassie, learning her condition was worse than Rose's. Determined, he offered to pay whatever it took, but she explained the cure required an apothecary from the Imperial Palace. She thanked him, but he still vowed to find an expert. Ignoring her doubts, he showed her the ring he'd gotten from her, adding that he had invested too much time and money in researching her disease to stop now. He wanted to see if the cure would work, meaning Cassie should stay alive as his pet project until then. His blunt words oddly moved her to tears. She had suspected his motive, but with no choice, she accepted. Until now, she believed her illness was incurable. Everyone had told her so gently, but his cold certainty carried unexpected warmth. Smiling, she asked for the best apothecary, claiming she had perfect research. As he left, the Underlord joked about his sudden change of heart, wondering if he was dying. He replied that a mercenary's word mattered, and this doctor seemed short on time. 3 days later, he reached McKellen City, once a vibrant free trade hub, now bittersweet in his memory, for a mad dragon had destroyed it in his past life. In the slums, goons threatened the blonde apothecary for failing to produce more than one high-grade miracle pill a week. They warned his collateral would suffer if he missed tomorrow's delivery. Just then, Aiden arrived, loudly offering help to victims of scams or threats. The boss sent his bulky lackey Karen, who tried to intimidate him. Aiden ignored him, asking the apothecary if he was being threatened. Annoyed, Karen swung, but Aiden punched him into a wall. Stunned, the goons froze as Aiden told them to step aside so he could serve his customer. The boss confronted him, but instead of fighting, Aiden yanked down his pants, revealing girly teddy bear boxers, sparking furious humiliation. The boss planned to teach Aiden a lesson but froze when his blade shattered under Aiden's strike. Fear replaced rage as he realized Aiden could wield sword aura. Yet, Aiden was more annoyed that the man called him a troll again, so he beat him senseless. The other goons were stunned to see such a figure in the slums. Turning to the apothecary, Aiden proposed a deal, though the man, Joseph, feared a scam. With no choice, Joseph nearly begged for help. His tale was grim. His daughter, Alice, had been kidnapped by the Severus Guild, forcing him to supply a miracle pill weekly. In Aiden's past life, Joseph had been a client seeking revenge after the guild killed Alice despite years of compliance. This time, Aiden intended to change the outcome. Joseph vowed anything in exchange for her rescue, unknowingly sparking Aiden's greed. Dismissing criticism of his gluttony, Aiden called his terms fair. Spotting a goon sneaking off, he caught him and extracted information with minimal effort. The scene shifted to the Severus Guild office, where the master awaited 2 miracle pills, even considering taking one himself. His grin faltered when a bruised subordinate entered, followed by Aiden stepping in casually. Calling Aiden foolish for walking into a tiger's den, he triggered an emergency mana alarm, confident reinforcements would arrive. When no one did, panic set in. Aiden revealed the sleeping guild members were already unconscious. The guildmaster's expression shifted when Aiden warned he wouldn't be sleeping tonight and demanded Alice's whereabouts. Ankle guessed Joseph had hired him but still charged, claiming to be the guild's strongest. Moments later, he was seen battered, unlocking the prison cell holding Alice. Aiden was disgusted they caged a child, but quickly sensed she wasn't ordinary. She proved it by kicking Ankle back, vowing to kill him. Aiden realized the man must have been powerful after all. The Underlord noted Alice's special ability. She tried to attack Aiden, but he remained calm, saying he was there to take her to her father. Her anger melted when she heard this, and she tearfully hugged him, admitting her fear. Even the Underlord was surprised by Aiden's empathy. Reunited with Joseph, Alice's father apologized, and later Aiden tucked her into bed. Joseph thanked him, but Aiden reminded him this wasn't charity. He wanted Joseph to keep his end of the deal. When asked his price, Aiden replied by questioning the worth of his daughter. Joseph swore he'd give his life for her. Aiden then revealed he didn't want money, but Joseph's apothecary skills. Realizing Aiden already knew who he was, Joseph agreed to repay him. Opening a box, he revealed a glowing miracle pill, which Aiden recognized from his past life. Joseph explained it was the product of his life's expertise. Barely restraining his excitement, Aiden asked if he could truly have the pill. Joseph insisted, calling it part of the repayment. The Underlord scoffed at his drooling, unaware of the pill's potency. Aiden swallowed it, mana surging through him, instantly recognizing it as a high-grade miracle pill capable of doubling mana in one dose. Realizing he hadn't even asked Aiden's name, Joseph panicked when introduced to the infamous Lord Troll, a title that irritated Aiden. Asked his purpose, Aiden explained he needed Joseph's help in exchange for House of Rand's protection. They traveled to Cassie's lab, where Joseph diagnosed severe mana depletion, a condition he'd never seen. Her beast genes were the only reason she'd survived. Studying her research, he believed a cure was possible but noted the nearly impossible to find ingredients. One crucial component was a rare fire element to melt her frozen mana channel, usually from a dragon's heart or phoenix feather. Cassie said acquiring such a thing was impossible, but to their shock, Aiden casually produced a phoenix feather, explaining it came from a blessing he'd once received. Joseph accepted it, promising the cure within 2 days, while Cassie shed a tear, seeing real hope for the first time. Philip knocked on the door, informing Aiden that his father had summoned him. Sweat broke out as Aiden remembered slipping out without notice. Soon, he stood before his father, who asked about his trip to Mechlin City. Aiden explained it was for business and apologized, but instead of a scolding, his father handed him an invitation to the imperial banquet for the crown prince's birthday. Normally, Carl attended such events, but he had refused, claiming he was busy and everyone wanted to see Aiden instead. Aiden almost declined until he remembered it was the year 450 of the imperial calendar, tied to a critical event from his past life. Surprising his father, he agreed, claiming he would go since Carl couldn't. Outside, his underlord guessed there was more to it. Aiden revealed that in year 450, dark mages would attack the banquet, and among them would be the Silver Witch, someone he wanted to recruit. She was unlike the radical Chaos faction and had led the Florence Flames. In his past life, he'd killed her, only for her to die regretting she hadn't reformed her family's dark magic. This time, he intended to change her fate. The next day, Aiden set out with a large entourage, puzzled at the numbers for a mere birthday celebration. Ro explained it was to show power and uphold the house's dignity. Yet, Aiden questioned why they were following Ro's plan to stay in a village when a shorter route was available. Aiden claims he wants a slow journey, but in truth, he plans to meet Joseph for more miracle pills. Joseph can't make another, as the key ingredient Tears of Ant is nearly extinct. In the present, Aiden thinks of someone who might know about them and remembers a gift left by his master. Ordering his crew to stay put, he says he'll visit someone in the village. When Ro offers to escort him, Aiden bluntly says Ro is weaker and not needed. Heading into the woods, the Underlord guesses he's meeting someone privately. Aiden admits even after reincarnation, he still can't fully read his master's mind. His eyes land on a large heart-shaped stone, bringing a nostalgic smile. The Underlord suspects it's unnatural, and Aiden recalls it was crafted by his master, proof of his odd taste. Convinced there's more to it, he slices it open despite the Underlord's protest, revealing a hidden dungeon. His master, he explains, believed disciples should grow stronger by facing death. Inside, zombie-like monsters swarm. The Underlord remarks on the apparent animosity between them, and Aiden recalls once thinking his master wanted to kill him during this same trial. Now, facing the dungeon's boss, a lich, a dark mage turned undead, he feels grateful for the training. In his past life, defeating the lich was a struggle. This was no foe for amateurs. The lich arrogantly warns they'll join his undead army, but before he can finish, Aiden charges in, ready to end him. Aiden knows the undead army is tied to the lich, so killing it will likely make the zombies vanish. Confident from slaying many liches in his past life, he charges, defeating this half-fledged one in a single strike. Crumbling, the lich regrets dying before seeing its dark mage kingdom rise. As the zombies disappear, Aiden notices a shiny locket. He denies it's a gift from his master, though the engraved pattern makes him decide to keep it for later inspection. The Underlord suggests taking the lich's bone powder to attract the rare ant Aiden seeks. Annoyed but knowing little about the ant, Aiden complies, warning of consequences if it's a trick. He saves all the loot, then heads for the hidden room where his master's true gift should be. The Underlord argues that gifting a dungeon with a lich inside is already insane. Inside, they find a gleaming shield, one Aiden once wielded to defeat the Underlord in his past life. It is the spirit shield of the Banshee, housing the Banshee's soul, powerful enough to drive its user mad. Aiden now realizes it caused some of his past instability, yet he still chooses to claim it. Touching it, he recalls its unique ability to transform into a bracelet until needed for battle. When Aiden wears the shield, the Banshee's shriek echoes, but he feels only nostalgia, having carried it for years. The Underlord mocks him for missing such a sound, calling him as insane as his master. With the gift claimed, Aiden calls out to someone he knows is waiting. A rabbit-like spirit appears, introducing himself as Rabbits from the Friendly Sprite Trading Company, part of a greedy network of spirit merchants who rush to trade dungeon loot. Rabbits tries to buy the shield, but Aiden refuses, instead asking for the location of the ant on the western continent. Intrigued, Rabbits demands 2,000 gold for the intel, only for Aiden to offer double, then twist the deal by demanding both the location and 4,000 gold. Rabbits, stunned, suspects Aiden's gone mad after the fight. But Aiden, recalling his master's teachings, knows how to exploit spirit merchants. He offers Rabbits something irresistible while threatening to destroy the dungeon core if the deal isn't made. The scene flashes back to Aiden's past life, when his master showed him a dungeon core hidden in a giant tree. It looked worthless, but the master explained it was the true treasure spirit merchants coveted, and the real reason they had come to the dungeon in the first place. Neither Aiden nor his master truly knew how spirit merchants used a dungeon core, only that it was a prized treasure for them. When a mercenary cleared a dungeon, they had rights to sell everything inside, core included. His master even joked that if no merchant would buy it, Aiden should just smash it. Now, Aiden waited impatiently for Rabbit's decision. The merchant fidgeted, knowing that if his superiors learned he traded money and information for a dungeon core, he'd be humiliated. Yet if he returned without it, the hat merchant's extermination letter awaited him. As Aiden's hand moved to his sword, Rabbits finally surrendered, buying the core. Aiden walked away with 4,000 gold and the promised information, certain he had outsmarted Rabbits. Though the sly merchant had sent him to an ant nest, no one survived. Returning to his crew, Aiden found Ro worried after half a day without word. Relieved to see him, Ro's warmth only made Aiden wish for his old hostile demeanor. With a sharp remark, Aiden ordered them straight to the capital. Meanwhile, the Silver Witch entered the same dungeon seeking the Banshee spirit only to find it empty. Someone had already taken it. The next day, Aiden's carriage rolled into the capital, Immortality. Dressed impeccably, he stepped out, met by a butler who, despite low opinions of him, guided him to a lavish palace suite. Dropping onto the extravagant bed, Aiden let out a satisfied sigh. Aiden's expression turned serious as he considered the threat of a dark mage assault, a danger that had claimed countless lives in his past life. Underlord asked if he planned to warn anyone, but Aiden refused. This was a rare opportunity. When Underlord accused him of not caring about casualties, Aiden retorted that he was a hero and had a plan. At the evening party, laughter and chatter filled the hall until Aiden entered. Whispers spread, accusing him of stealing credit for killing a troll. Watching their hostile faces, Aiden recalled receiving the same treatment in his past life, realizing that envy was universal. He ignored them, focusing on the three individuals that mattered, one of whom stood before him. A half-drunk man swirled fine wine, lamenting that Mage City lacked such quality. This was Gustav Dora, chief mage of Anguis. Aiden greeted him politely, only to be dismissed with arrogance. His usual charm failed, so he shifted tactics, mentioning a book on magitech. Gustav's interest lit up instantly. He was shocked that Aiden not only read it, but appreciated it. Their conversation quickly turned into a deep dive into magitech. Gustav beamed, thrilled to find someone who understood what most elders in his kingdom dismissed. Aiden feigned admiration, enduring the endless lecture while Underlord begged him to silence Gustav. With ears metaphorically bleeding, Aiden told Underlord to pretend he didn't have any. Underlord couldn't fathom why he needed such a magitech-obsessed man, but Aiden knew its future value. His foresight drove this seemingly tedious encounter. Underlord began realizing that Gustav would indeed gain fame in the future, but for all the wrong reasons. Known as the Mad Mage of the Tower, Radical Gustav Dora, he would one day cause a catastrophic magitech accident, lose his aura, be banished, and eventually destroy the Mage Tower in a revenge-fueled rampage before being stopped by the Mage Shora. Meanwhile, Aiden endured Gustav's endless rambling. When accused of being bored, he politely denied it, calling the talk enlightening, but eventually suggested they continue later. Just as he turned away, someone called his name, a striking young man who seemed familiar. This was Tien Sadis, accusing Aiden of stealing his family heirloom. Unfazed, Aiden claimed ignorance, but Tien shouted that he would never forgive him. When Gustav asked if there was a history between them, Aiden said this was their first meeting, until the mention of Sedis made him recall the connection. He greeted Tien politely, but the man wasn't swayed, accusing him of scamming his father to take their family sword. The crowd soon noticed the blade, recognizing it as Sedis property, and whispers spread that Aiden might not have killed the troll by his own skill. Aiden calmly explained it was won through a fair bet, but Tien dismissed the idea, claiming a nobody like him could never beat Sedis. Annoyed, Aiden still held back, warning Tien about his disrespect. Underlord was amazed at his restraint, but Aiden reminded him that brawling here would cause unnecessary trouble. Tien, still fuming, challenged Aiden to a duel. Loser would kneel and apologize, and Aiden would return the sword. With a wide, unsettling smile, Aiden replied that dueling at the Crown Prince's party would be rude. Just then, Crown Prince Mars appeared, instantly drawing bows from everyone. Both men apologized, but Mars waved it off, smiling as he declared he actually wanted to see them fight. Known as a battle fanatic, despite his aptitude for ruling, Mars insisted the duel would be his birthday gift. Tien eagerly accepted, driven by jealousy that his usually critical father had acknowledged Aiden. He believed Aiden had tricked him and saw this as the perfect chance to expose the scammer. Noticing Aiden shaking, Tian assumed it was fear, but in truth, Aiden was barely containing his excitement, masking it with reluctant compliance. Underlord reminded him Tien was just a teenager, yet Aiden remained eager to teach him a lesson. Mars set the rules. No sword aura or artifacts. Tien promised an honorable match and vowed to reveal Aiden's true self. Aiden, appearing lazy and disinterested, simply told him to start. Fueled by anger, Tien charged, certain he could end the fight in one strike. But before he realized what happened, Aiden's sword came down squarely on his head, leaving the crowd stunned. Aiden casually claims the sword slipped from his hand and Tien just happened to be in the way, calling it a draw. Mars agrees and tells them to focus. Fuming, Tien admits it was foolish to underestimate Aiden, whose smug expression only enrages him further. Declaring he'll attack properly this time, he charges, but Aiden calmly warns that no matter how Tien fights, he still can't win. Frustrated, Tien unleashes a flurry of strikes, yet Aiden dodges with ease. Observing his form, Aiden notes Tien's swordsmanship is technically flawless but lacks the raw strength of his father. It feels more like a child imitating rather than mastering the art. Humiliated, Tien steadies himself, only for Aiden to suddenly lunge with real killing intent. Panicked, Tien tries to block, but Aiden feints and strikes him clean on the forehead. Underlord assumes Aiden might spare him for Sadis's sake, but Aiden sees Tien as a stubborn beast needing to be tamed. Staggering, Tien refuses to accept defeat, claiming the pride of a Sadis, yet he doesn't know he's facing the mercenary king's Nightbreaker style. Aiden finishes him decisively before Tien collapses into a friend's arms. Sylvain Sias, younger brother of the Night King and traitor from Aiden's past life. Introducing himself as Dare Sias, son of Grand Duke Sias, he represents the Grand Duchy of Sias, a fortress guarding the northern edge of the continent, famed as the Sword of the North. Every Sias heir has become a sword master, making their name synonymous with unrivaled military might. In the House of Sias, leadership isn't inherited, it's earned on the battlefield. Only the most skilled warrior claims the title of head. As Aiden studies Dare, he wonders if he'd already be a swordmaster had he been born a Sias. Even among such talent, Dare shines as a genius. Underlord urges Aiden to meet him, but Aiden sips his juice, waiting for the right moment. He soon feels stares from behind and turns to find the same nobles who once dismissed him, now scrambling to introduce themselves. His patience snaps when someone calls him Lord Troll again. Escaping to the balcony, he's met with Underlord's question about whether he's disgusted by these hypocrites. Aiden calmly says it's human nature to use others for personal gain, even warning that Underlord shouldn't trust him too much. When Underlord insists he does, adding Aiden has more troll traits than human ones, Aiden's irritation grows. Their banter ends when a woman confidently enters his secluded spot, asking if his swordsmanship was that of the mercenary king. Aiden tenses, someone recognized it. But sensing her aura, he grins. She admits she's never seen it, but heard it can break any defense, adding the mercenary king could have been a famed knight. Aiden recalls his master's disregard for titles unless gold was involved and agrees politely. Complaining about the dullness of formal events, he inwardly drops the real revelation. He knows exactly who she is. Her face may be altered, but her aura is unmistakable. They fought each other hundreds of times in his past life. Without hesitation, Aiden addresses her by name, Nikita Florence, the true Silver Witch. Before she can reply, a sudden flare of magic rises from below. At first puzzled, she then recognizes a carved formation used to summon the undead, shocked that the Chaos Organization would go this far. Aiden finds it predictable and tells her they must kill the caster to end the spell, urging her to handle it since she's here to deal with the Dark Mage faction. Though curious about his identity, she decides to confront him later. Leaving the matter to her, Aiden returns to the banquet hall, where knights form ranks against the undead. Tien fights zombies with skill, prompting Underlord to note his advanced sword aura. Aiden agrees but says Tien's choice of opponent was unfortunate, especially with a best friend and prodigy like Dare making him look worse. An undead troll appears, and before Tien can call for help, Dare cuts it down with ease. Underlord observes Dare is close to becoming a swordmaster. Aiden adds he's already near semi-master level. Tien's misfortune only deepens. Underlord admits he hasn't helped, claiming he's watching how they handle the fight. Outside, Tien and Dare battle the undead army until Tien senses a dark aura, the Death Knight. The creature targets Dare, but Aiden intercepts the blow with his Banshee shield. He has been waiting for this moment, recalling in his past life how this monster ruined the banquet and killed Dare. Only the Banshee shield could counter its dark magic. The Death Knight's fixation on Dare confirms Aiden's suspicion. The undead's real mission is not an all-out attack, but to isolate Dare from the others. The entire chaotic scene is revealed to have a single purpose: assassinate Dare. Aiden blocks another strike from the Death Knight, whose skill rivals a semi-swordmaster, making defense exhausting. He asks Dare if he sees any chance to land a hit. Dare, mid-assault, admits his spear is effortlessly deflected. Aiden agrees, noting dryly that the knight's magic feels semi-master level. But one question lingers: who would want Dare dead badly enough to summon an undead army? The realization hits: Dare's brother, Sylvetta, desperate to escape living in Dare's shadow. In the Sias hierarchy, leadership favors the deadliest, not the eldest. Sylvetta's ambition drove him to kill his own brother and secretly ally with dark mages. Meanwhile, Dare struggles. Their plan to defeat such a creature isn't working. Calmly, Aiden says he has a plan born from experience facing stronger foes. Dare asks its name. Aiden calls it the annoyance strategy. Though unimpressed, Dare reluctantly agrees. Underlord notes even Aiden gets annoyed sometimes, which proves the tactic's effectiveness. The Death Knight, impatient with their discussion, lunges at Dare, but Aiden blocks with his shield. Bitterly thinking of Sylvetta's treachery, he resolves not to let him win this time. The Death Knight, growing visibly irritated, demanded Aiden step aside, but Aiden stayed put. Dare unleashed a sword aura attack, pushing the Death Knight back, impressing Aiden. This power was nearing semi-masterclass. As Dare lost sight of the enemy's aura, the knight leapt for a fatal strike, only for Aiden to intercept effortlessly. Mocking faces from Aiden only fueled the knight's fury, prompting him to target Aiden first. The cycle continued, Aiden defending, Dare attacking, yet unable to land a scratch. Dare questioned their lack of progress, and Aiden's sudden snicker worried both him and the Underlord. The Underlord suspected Balabul's interference, but the Bible protested innocence. Aiden reassured them he was sane, explaining that ordinary attacks wouldn't work, he needed the shield. Curious, the Underlord asked if he'd strike with it. Aiden smirked, revealing the shield housed a banshee's soul, capable of madness, and that repeated use alongside his sword was strengthening him. With a swift slash, Aiden finally grinned, showing he too was semi-masterclass. Dare, shocked, realized Aiden had been hiding his true power, and reluctantly admitted Aiden was stronger than him, contrary to what their earlier clash with Tion suggested. The fight shifts. Aiden is no longer just defending, he's taking the fight to the Death Knight, and for the first time, they have a chance to win. Dare stands stunned, realizing that Aiden is more powerful than he could have ever imagined. Aiden grins widely, realizing that he missed his target because he was too drunk on his own power. The Underlord questioned how every weapon Aiden wielded seemed so insane. Aiden replied that the best weapons were always a little crazy. The Underlord mused that perhaps the items merely matched Aiden's own madness. Ready to end the fight, Aiden activated the Ring of Swiftness. The Death Knight, sensing a shift, readied his strike. In a blur, Aiden leapt behind him, teasing that he was too slow to catch up, then attacked with speed that left Dare stunned. As Aiden pressed the advantage relentlessly, the Death Knight, desperate, swung toward Dare. Pain from the ring slowed Aiden, forcing him to struggle to reach his friend in time. Dare froze as the knight advanced. Suddenly, Tion rushed forward, determined to protect his friends despite knowing he was outmatched. Remembering Aiden's advice on precise strikes, Tion channeled all his strength and struck the Death Knight with a radiant aura. The knight, acknowledging his mission unfinished, finally fell. Other undead vanished with him, signaling the end of the calamity. Soldiers cheered as Tion stood behind the fallen foe. Dare approached, calling Tion a semi-master and promising to repay the debt. Tion accepted solemnly. Dare wanted to include Aiden in the celebration, but he had already vanished. Tion couldn't shake the feeling he hadn't truly defeated the knight. Meanwhile, Aiden, fully drained from pushing himself to the limit, knew he needed rest. The Underlord urged him to enjoy the victory, but Aiden could only focus on recovery, unable to celebrate. This victory was only a step toward Aiden's revenge. He'd also discovered Sylvetta's collaboration with dark mages, raising suspicion about his other companions. The Underlord reassured him that things were going as planned. Aiden's thoughts lingered on Nikita, who had once dealt with chaos, explaining why the summoning reversed and the Death Knight was defeated. Ro arrived, injured from fighting the undead, and Aiden told him to rest. The next day, while Aiden slept in the Imperial Palace guest room, he sensed an intruder, Nika. She revealed a soundproof barrier and confronted him, asking how he knew so much. Though she threatened him, Aiden calmly insisted their goals aligned. Skeptical, she challenged his knowledge as a noble. He explained his hatred of modern dark mages, especially those from chaos, citing that dark magic was originally meant to purify and fight underworld monsters. He offered a friendly alliance, surprising her, and promised information about a future event only he knew. Just as he began revealing it, Ro brought Tyan into the room, and Tyan, seeing Aiden near Nikita, misread the scene as something romantic. Tyan stormed off without a word, leaving Aiden shouting that it wasn't what it looked like. Later, Aiden confronted Tyan, whose face flushed at the memory. Tyan asked if Aiden had spent time with Nikita, and Aiden awkwardly explained it was only a conversation, though Tyan clearly didn't believe him. Earlier, Aiden had warned Nikita that a drought would hit Barkan territory in 3 months, but she dismissed it. He stressed the importance of warning Tyan too, and when she refused to believe him, he pushed her out, earning her icy warning that she'd find him if he lied. Back in the present, Aiden asked why Tyan had come, perhaps for another duel, but Tyan admitted his father was right, Aiden was worthy of wielding bows. Tyan bowed, expressing gratitude for Aiden showing him the path to save his friend and acknowledging that Aiden's earlier strike had weakened the Death Knight. Tyan declared he would make Aiden his rival after Dare and vowed to defeat him and reclaim Balabul, revealing he truly took after his father. Afterward, Aiden and Tyan agreed to treat each other as equals. A few days later, they left the Imperial City, nearing their territory. Aiden asked about Ro's wounds, and Ro tearfully expressed gratitude for the healing potion, prompting Aiden to remind him to take care of him in return. Grinning, Aiden remarked on the imperial family's generosity, giving them enough gold for several mansions, and mentioned gifts he brought for friends and Alice. Arriving at Maryland City, the crowd cheered loudly, irritating Aiden, who marveled at how fast rumors spread. Underlord noted that rumors travel faster than wind. Then Aiden's jaw dropped. A massive, golden, and revealing statue of himself stood in the plaza, commissioned by his father after hearing he defeated a troll. Ro admired it, while Underlord gagged. At Ray's mansion, Aiden sent Ro to hand out gifts and went to confront his father about the statue. The servant's downcast expressions confused him, and he prepared to scold his father, but his father's grim expression revealed worse news. Joseph and Alice had been taken by the sacred flame. They claimed to be fugitives, and though his father tried to intervene, Joseph volunteered to go. Aiden learned they would be taken to the sacred flame headquarters. His father warned that defying the three orders could ruin their family, leaving Aiden speechless. With a fake smile, Aiden says he just wants to say goodbye. His father, though troubled, wishes him a safe journey. Once outside, Underlord notes Aiden was only pretending. Aiden admits that telling the truth would have made his father stop him. He's furious. The order took his people without permission and vows to destroy them if they touch anyone. In the Western continent, three major holy orders, the churches of the gods of slaughter, law, and the sacred flame, represent divine authority. Saints, humans chosen by the gods, act as intermediaries, revealing their will. Ro reflects on why the Order of the Sacred Flame took Alice and Joseph. The church hasn't produced a saint in over a decade, losing a fifth of its former power. Arriving at their destination, Ro vomits in nostalgia over his mercenary days. He thanks Foval, who brushes it off, enjoying favors for regular customers. Merchants like Aiden know Foval's guild well, which is why he deals exclusively with them. Seeing Rose unwell, Aiden urges him to rest. He observes the Temple of the Sacred Flame, still luxurious but unnervingly calm. Guards turn away people seeking healing, and the gates remain closed despite the pilgrimage season. Aiden quickly connects this seclusion to Joseph and Alice being taken. Foval, suspicious, asks how he'll get inside. Aiden gives a vague answer, making Foval visibly nervous, knowing trouble is sure to follow. Aiden calmly approaches a monk guarding the entrance, claiming urgent business. The monk apologizes, explaining that no outsider, even a lord, may enter. Aiden insists, his voice firm, but the monk refuses. Losing patience, Aiden strikes, sending the monk sprawling. Another monk angrily cries out, but Aiden turns on him as well, attacking the so-called protectors. Foval observes, unsurprised by his lord's scoundrel elegance. Before proceeding, Aiden warns Underlord of the place's divine energy. As the doors open, monks initially think it's the start of their shift, then panic at his intrusion. Underlord asks if Aiden knows Joseph's location. He admits he doesn't, replying vaguely that he has his own way. Monks prepare to kill him for breaching the sacred order. Underlord muses whether Aiden intends to fight them all. Aiden clarifies. He only plans to activate his Ring of Swiftness to reach the Bell of Lamentation and cause chaos. The bell allows those in dire straits to speak with the order's leader, but it has been moved to a nearly unreachable spot due to abuse. Underlord notes it would have been simpler to remove the bell, but law protects it. As Aiden approaches, orders are given to stop him. Realizing he must use the ring again despite side effects, he finally spots the bell and steels himself with renewed determination. Aiden is moments from ringing the bell when someone catches up and strikes from behind. He narrowly evades, surprised anyone could match his Ring of Swiftness. The attacker, a massive monk claiming superiority over others, refuses to let him reach the bell. Underlord wonders if the monk is even human. Aiden draws his sword, politely asking Vali to step aside, but Vali laughs, excited to face a strong opponent. The first clash shows Vali's monstrous strength, surpassing even Cetus. Aiden has never faced anyone like him, while Vali enjoys the challenge. Underlord notes that the stronger they are, the crazier they seem. Aiden agrees, joking that it's unlucky they always meet lunatics. Knowing he can't match Vali, Aiden readies his shield, only to see it shattered and himself thrown against a wall, bloodied. Vali steps forward, declaring he will kill Aiden for his sins, but Aiden still moves. Vali realizes Aiden had a mana-infused sword and smoke, planning a counter, though the strike misses. Taunting him as a useless knight, Vali is then unsettled by Aiden's sarcastic grin, shocked to see him face death with such boldness. Vali's eyes widen as he realizes Aiden's sword wasn't aimed at him. He hears a bell instead. Aiden, exhausted from the fight and the Ring of Swiftness, weakly asks if he can now meet the leader, then loses consciousness. Monks later revive him with a powerful healing testament, restoring his strength. Underlord suffers greatly from the divine energy, enduring painful torment which Aiden smugly finds amusing. Vali escorts Hakal, the vice leader of the Sacred Flame Order. Auden greets him, noting Hakal appears kinder than expected. From his knowledge of the future, Auden knows Hakal will eventually lead the order to ruin, but for now, he seems normal. Auden apologizes for intruding. Hakal reassures him that, as a guest, he is welcome. Vali also appears, prompting caution, but Aiden greets him and declines a replacement shield, explaining his own has regenerative abilities, though it will take 4 days to fully recover due to damage from med attacks. Aiden then asks to meet the leader to address Joseph and Alice. Hikley apologizes, saying the leader is unavailable, but offers to meet the highest present authority instead. Aiden senses something is wrong, knowing the bell should allow him to meet the leader directly, and hopes to meet Curdle, the current sensible leader of the order. Although Curdle's methods were confusing, Aiden recognized he had saved his life in a past life without asking for anything in return. If Aiden were in his place, he would have expected repayment, earning him the nickname Talos from Underlord, the monster of the underworld. Aiden disliked the remark but promised to bathe in holy potion, signaling that Underlord would endure what came next. Huckle then told him he would meet someone of higher rank than Hakal, though still below the leader. Curious but determined to rescue Joseph and Alice, Aiden followed. Heel added that the person was remarkably bright, raising Aiden's anticipation. Upon entering, Aiden's expression froze. Joseph and Alice sat at a lavish table, enjoying a luxury meal. Huckle and Valley bowed to Alice, who was revered as the saintest of the sacred flame. Panic set in as Aiden confronted Joseph, demanding answers. Calmly, Joseph revealed he had been a member of the Seven-Star Council, mastering the sacred flame. The council comprised the continent's greatest apothecaries, explaining why Joseph was unmatched. Underlord questioned why these apothecaries seemed only slightly better than ordinary doctors, but in truth, the Sacred Flame Order controlled the best apothecaries, wielding immense influence over leaders. Aiden still wondered why Joseph, a top figure, lived in a slum. Joseph explained that every 40 years, a saint rises to lead for 4 decades, and new candidates are chosen by a divine mark. Yet, in the past decade, these candidates born to young adults had been systematically assassinated. Alice was one of these candidates, so Joseph fled to protect her, only returning after learning of another catastrophic threat. Aiden's eyes widened, struggling to grasp what could be more catastrophic than the deaths of the saint candidates. Dread settled in, for he knew this period should be one of peace for the Sacred Flame Order. Days earlier, a group from the Order had arrived to retrieve Joseph and Alice but were blocked, as Aiden refused to hand them over. The leading monk, furious, insisted that family status didn't grant them authority over the Order's affairs and demanded their surrender. After a tense exchange, Joseph requested a private conversation. Joseph questioned how the monk had discovered their location and why he hadn't acted sooner. The monk admitted he had assumed they were dead. Only after the Cerberus Guild's destruction did he uncover their whereabouts. Ordered to bring them back, he pressed the point, but Joseph argued that sending Alice away was too risky with the Saint candidate's murders unresolved. The monk insisted, revealing that the Order's leader had fallen gravely ill despite the monk's efforts. Joseph confirmed the Order now faced a crisis. The plan: awaken Alice as the new saint in 4 days to heal the leader and restore the Order. Joseph apologized for withholding details. Aiden's anger wasn't directed at him but at the news. Curdle, his past life savior, was seriously ill. Knowing this was to happen 3 years from now in his previous life, Aiden worried his actions might have disrupted the timeline. After a pause, he resolved to stay until he discovered the cause. Underlord dreaded remaining in the holy place, but Aiden silenced him, insisting that uncovering the problem quickly was the only way to leave sooner. Valley led Aiden to meet the leader, giving him only 5 minutes. The moment he entered, a foul odor hit him, and the sight of Curdle in such a weakened state stirred guilt. He had never repaid Curdle for saving his life in his past life. As he struggled with his emotions, Aiden sensed a strange, ominous energy emanating from Curdle. Underlord noted that Aiden should recognize it from his past life, but Aiden couldn't. Underlord explained dryly that it was a subtle, layered curse, invisible to ordinary humans, slowly destroying Curdle from within. Aiden deduced a mole in the Order, likely a dark mage, was responsible, realizing that even in his previous life, Curdle's decline was likely due to this curse. Determined to help, Aiden focused on breaking it. Underlord clarified that no normal caster could remove the curse. Only a dark mage who understood its structure, or potentially Alice with her divine power, could heal him. This worried Aiden, as anyone aware of her potential might target her. He resolved to warn Joseph to better protect Alice. Suddenly, a shriek pierced the air. Alice's. He raced to her room, finding Joseph and others already there with no sign of an attack. A panicked maid explained that Alice screamed after a candle was turned off. Aiden recalled that Alice always slept with lights on in the palace and suspected PTSD from her captivity. He asked Joseph for a moment alone with her. Joseph allowed Aiden the time alone with Alice. She trembled, repeating that she didn't want to die. Gently raising his hand, Aiden reassured her that with his protection, not even the Underlord could harm her. In relief, Alice hugged him, sobbing, and gradually calmed. When Aiden asked how she felt, she admitted doubt about becoming a saint. Saints in stories were brave and powerful, but she longed only to return home and play with Cassie and Choco. Aiden tapped her head, reminding her she was still a child and didn't have to understand sainthood fully yet. Curious, Alice asked if he knew any saints. Aiden smiled but stopped, haunted by painful memories of betrayal. Pressed for details, he gently patted her head, assuring her that saints are human and could show emotions, and that she was free to go home if she wished. Alice inquired about his past saint friend. He confirmed they were no longer friends, then spun a story to satisfy her curiosity, leaving himself mentally drained. Joseph soon returned with Hackle, asking after Alice. Aiden reassured him and let him meet her. Turning to Hackle, Aiden asked why he lingered. Hackle extended his hand in thanks, which Aiden accepted politely. Underlord's eyes then widened. Dark energy radiated from Hackle. He warned Aiden that Hackle was a dark mage. Hackle, frustrated that Alice survived, cursed his failure and regretted not killing her earlier. His subordinate updated him that the special guests would arrive soon, and Hackle planned to escort them to Huckle. Park Heck's plan was to have the intruder assassinate Alice during the awakening ceremony, aiming to seize control of the order. Aiden, already suspecting a dark mole, realizes it's Hackle. The Underlord notes he sensed it the moment Aiden touched Hackle's hand. Dark mages radiate demonic energy. Aiden curses under his breath, wary that more dark mages may lurk in Hell's Circle. He also wonders why Heckle hastened Curdle's decline compared to his past life and what timeline changes, besides saving Alice, caused it. First, he must learn who Hackle has invited. Outside the order, at the village's edge, a mysterious figure meets a monk. The monk urges him inside, but the newcomer scorns the monk's rush preparations for Alice. Aiden follows silently, noting the voice seems familiar. The monk mentions the visitor's commander will benefit from Hackle's future leadership. Angered, the figure seizes the monk, threatening him, but eventually releases him. Aiden's heart races as he finally sees the figure, Banej Haima, the Red Knight. Memories from his past life click. Banej had served Sylvita, the one who vowed to purge dark mages. Aiden realizes Sylvita's corruption runs far deeper than he imagined, and the chaos in this timeline stems from Sylvita's schemes. The Underlord asks what Sylvita gains from Hackle's rise. Aiden deduces it's not just family prestige, solidifying Sylvita's position is key. With Hegel in power, Sylvita could easily ascend as head of his family. More unsettling is Dare's role. Aiden had saved him this timeline, a change Sylvita evidently orchestrated. Anger surged within Aiden and how low Sylvita could go, but his thoughts were cut short when he sensed movement behind him. Bajig, realizing Aiden had overheard, turned with deadly intent. Aiden leapt into the air to dodge, noting Bajig's impulsive, explosive swordsmanship. The monk rushed toward him, making Aiden cautious about acting outside the order building, but Bajig, blaming the monk, sent him fleeing. Bajig then focused on Aiden, deducing he wasn't ordinary from his sword defense. Aiden gave vague answers, prompting Bajig to grin, eager for a fight. Realizing Banej was far superior, Aiden tried to escape, but Bajig's skill blocked any chance. Their swords clashed intensely, even astonishing the Underlord, who found Banej crazier than Talos or Aiden. Aiden, weaker and unable to use his shield, quickly plotted a way out. Bajig recognized Aiden's sword style resembled his commander's. Aiden addressed him by full name, catching Banej off guard. Laughing, Banej assumed Aiden was allied with Dare. Aiden silently apologized to Dare and played along, warning both Banej and his master would face consequences for involving dark mages. Enraged, Banej attacked again, but Aiden dodged, realizing his words only fueled Banej's violent, impulsive nature, making him more unhinged without even going all out. Banej's impulsive madness was in full display. With a maniacal grin, he challenged Aiden, convinced he couldn't be beaten. Suddenly, a nosebleed startled him, giving Aiden the perfect moment to strike with his sword aura. Banej blocked, but began losing balance. Aiden smirked, having used his main skill, Resonance, a subtle technique that disrupts an opponent's internal mana flow over time, eventually eroding their core. Yet Banej remained standing, showing his incredible strength. Banej demanded Aiden fight seriously, enraged by his taunts and the use of his commander's name. Provoked further, Aiden threw a smoke bomb at him. Banej blocked but froze as the smoke exploded, giving Aiden cover to vanish. Underlord grumbled about running, but Aiden explained he couldn't fight a knight without his shield, so he planned to delay Banej while pursuing the real target, the fleeing dark mage. Aiden caught up, striking the mage down with a surge of sword aura. The next day, Hackle was found in the underground cave beneath the order, shaking with rage. The priest meant to deliver a knight from Sylvita had vanished, and the knight himself never arrived. Hackle began to suspect betrayal. Despite his plan's failure, Hackle resolves to stop Alice's awakening at any cost. A wicked idea strikes him. He will use Aiden as a scapegoat. On the day of the ceremony, priests line the entrance of the church of the Holy Fire. Joseph clings to Alice, overwhelmed with joy and tears, but she asks him to stop, feeling awkward. Aiden reminds her that her strength should make God repay her for all she endured. Joseph is stunned, while Auden suggests this power might help her survive without sacrifice. Shifting focus, they proceed. A priest guides Alice toward the altar, insisting she go alone. Joseph is comforted, though he struggles to let her go. Hackle quietly approaches Aiden, offering a rare, high-grade pill under the guise of gratitude. Hesitant at first, Aiden swallows it, only for his expression to darken. He has been cursed to kill Alice during her awakening. Hackle watches with satisfaction. Alice steps toward the divine flames, recalling Aiden's words, God should fear her, not the other way around. At the same time, Aiden moves toward the main hall under the pill's influence. Hackle stands confident, awaiting the cursed act that will cement his rise. But before the plan unfolds, warrior monks suddenly arrive in full battle gear. Everyone froze. Volley, in armor, commanded calm, raising tension during the sacred ceremony. Hackle reminded him that armor was forbidden today, but Volley insisted it was urgent, claiming a heretic aligned with darkness was among them. The priests murmured in disbelief. Hackle shouted it was nonsense. Accusing a fellow priest of dark magic was serious. Before he could argue, a priest stepped forward, confessing he summoned them. Everyone was stunned. The archpriest appeared fully healed, something thought impossible. Hackle, shaken after years of cursing him, wondered if someone equally powerful had healed him or if a traitor intervened. Curl then revealed Huckle was a dark mage, causing a gasp. Hackle, craving power, trembled but refused defeat, accusing Aiden instead, claiming he had plotted to kill the saint and urging the others to stop him. At that moment, Argy arrived. Hackle demanded what he had done to the saint. Calmly, Argy explained she was inside, undergoing awakening. Hackle realized the curse had failed. The night before the Crimson Knight battle, Argy had spoken to Nikita, sensing her presence. She had taken owl form, curious about his intentions. He suspected Chaos was behind the church's troubles, a shared enemy, and planned to face the Dark Mages himself, asking her to lend a special artifact. The owl couldn't grasp why it was needed just to break a curse. She assumed he aimed to fight Chaos. In truth, it was for Curl, frozen in paralysis with a clear mind. He believed Curl already knew Hackle's true loyalties, and once awake, exposing the traitors would be easy. The owl found his reasoning sound and proposed an alternative. She summoned a magic ring of her own making, explaining it could lift the curse if it reached the high priest. She warned much of the church had already fallen under Chaos and they might target Argy. Aiden reassured her he already carried the curse, so others couldn't affect in the same way. The Underlord, sensing the reference, initially refused but relented when threatened with a holy potion. Aiden suspected Hackle had been exposed, though many still doubted he could be a dark mage. Curl urged surrender, but Hackle refused, bitter that the church had never chosen him. His lifelong dream of sainthood destroyed, he declared life meaningless. Dark magic erupted around him as he summoned his comrades. Panic spread, some priests resisted, others succumbed, attacking one another. Bally prepared to intervene, but the archpriest held him back, recognizing Hackle's fall and cunning. Hackle took cruel pleasure in the chaos, cursing anyone opposing him to instant death. Curl seethed but was powerless. Argy estimated 15 dark mages in the room, spotting their unique energy. He struck with speed, eliminating 2 instantly. Hackle warned the rest would die, but Argy didn't flinch. This wasn't about holiness, but his vendetta against chaos. Hackle realized this fight was personal. His earlier fighters had failed, and the Underlord couldn't confirm whether Argy intended to kill everyone. That doubt shattered the curse's hold. Knowing fewer dark mages weakened the spell, Argy launched smoke bombs into the chaos. Hackle had no clue what was coming, and under cover, Argy struck down more enemies. Hackle watched his forces dwindle, desperate after a decade of planning. Tapping deeper into dark energy, he drained a fleeing mage, offering the Underworld's Baron half the victim's life and all souls taken. Argy silently hoped it wouldn't succeed. Dark mana began converging into a single point. The priests, confused, slowly regained awareness, realizing the Underlord had lifted. The real fight was only starting. A portal opened overhead, pulsing with strange energy, chilling even Vali. Suddenly, a blinding beam shot from it, smashing the ground and sending fragments flying. Screams erupted, but Vali and the archpriest remained unharmed as Aiden blocked the debris with his sword's aura. He urged them to flee to safety. As dust settled, a silhouette emerged, a creature, Talos, breathing in deeply, savoring the world he hadn't felt in ages. To Talos, everything looked soft, delicate, and strangely beautiful. Fragile beings surviving in such a place fascinated him. Aiden, meanwhile, was furious. Too much had already gone wrong. The Underlord was stunned as Talos demanded to know who summoned him. Hackle stepped forward, claiming mastery and ordering him to kill the priests, but blood spurted from his body. Talos had expected a rich, satisfying soul, but this one disappointed him. Argy recognized Talos as the monster responsible for the world's past destruction, clearly high-ranking and deadly. Skilled swordmasters would struggle against him. Suddenly, every priest around him fell unconscious. Talos had cast illusion fog, trapping them in their worst nightmares while draining life. Protected by the Underlord, Argy remained unaffected and learned that Talos, known as Maisto, had once tried to deceive the Underlord but failed, leaving his soul enslaved. A notion Argy found amusing. Without noticing, Maisto appeared directly in front of him, curious about the taste of his soul. The Underlord warned him not to fear yet. Talos hadn't reached full power due to an improper summoning and was only using half his strength. Hearing this, Aiden felt slightly reassured, but Maisto declared that Aiden would be the first to die. Instead of fearing Talos, Aiden provokes him, even daring to call him by name. He reminds Talos how everyone knows Maisto now, thanks to the Underlord dragging him around like a pet, and offers to help trick him. Talos, furious, swings an attack, but Aiden leaps out of the way. Talos threatens to make Aiden feel the soul-tearing agony he once endured. Aiden suspects the Underlord is hiding something. Hesitant, the Underlord admits he once used Talos in experiments driven by curiosity. Aiden briefly forgets the Underlord's true nature, then realizes just how insane he is. The Underlord counters that Talos is even crazier. Their argument halts. Too many people are nearby. They need to lure Talos away, but he refuses and charges, unleashing energy cuts that tear through the building. Even half of Maisto's power stuns Aiden. He blocks the next strike with his sword but is slammed into a wall, leaving a crack. Maisto is impressed. Aiden isn't ordinary. While thinking of strategy, Aiden notes the Banshee shield is still regenerating. His only option now is risky. Thanks to a high-class pill from Heal, his abilities have leveled up. Magical energy swirls around Bible. Talos senses a strange aura, unaware Balabal's gluttony powers have grown. Aiden summons the souls he previously absorbed with Wraith enslavement, calling forth a ghostly troll at his side. Even skilled dark magicians would struggle with this, and Maisto is shaken. Smirking, Aiden taunts it as the Underlord's little experiment. Talos snaps, declaring he will drag Aiden straight into the depths of hell. Meanwhile, Alice drifts toward a glow from the fire, finding the area unexpectedly beautiful. Suddenly, the master of the sacred flame, the main lord of the Holy Trinity, appears. Curious, he remarks that it's been ages since he last saw a human. He isn't interested in a long chat, telling her to take his power and leave so he can rest. Alice, however, refuses to back down. She boldly complains about her suffering, demanding compensation, shocking the Lord. Instead of anger, he smirks, intrigued by her audacity. He promises to repay her, not just for this life but the one before, referring to Aiden's intervention that saved her life and altered her destiny. He seems genuinely interested in how events will unfold. Back on the battlefield, the troll channels fire, hurling attacks at Maisto. He dodges, flinching, uneasy with the flames, but it's minor compared to previous threats. Aiden quietly approaches from behind, swinging decisively to slice off one of Maisto's wings and an arm. Maisto screams and crashes to the ground. Landing nearby, Aiden taunts that ignoring him was a mistake. Maisto swears vengeance, but Aiden sarcastically suggests asking the Underlord for replacements, even angel wings. The troll then unleashes a torrent of fire, engulfing Maisto, while Aiden warns the Underlord he might need a new test subject. The Demon Lord simply tells him to stop joking. Maisto isn't that easy to kill. As the flames die down, Aiden stares in disbelief. Maisto remains standing, already healing, unusual even for high-ranking Talos. His true strength isn't sheer power but endurance. Fire, his supposed fear, no longer harms him. Aiden struggles to understand, but Maisto's fear stems from trauma. Once trapped in hellfire by the Demon Lord, he endured its searing heat until he built resistance, though the scars remained. Fully regenerated, Maisto grins, recognizing Aiden's trick failed and seeing the gap between them. Aiden knows victory is unlikely but charges anyway, colliding with Maisto in a massive explosion. As dust clears, Maisto approaches the nearly unconscious Aiden, unimpressed. Aiden's fatigue makes him falter, his body heavy, sleep creeping in, yet he clings to unfinished business and the desire to surpass his past life. Maisto raises his arm for the final strike. Aiden lies still, resigned. The Underlord, tired of Aiden's theatrics, scolds him for arrogance but offers a shocking gift, access to true power. A surge of magical energy erupts from Aiden. Maisto freezes, recognizing the unmistakable aura Underlord's. Reinvigorated, Aiden stands, eyes glowing with authority. Maisto trembles and, overwhelmed, kneels, acknowledging it an honor to meet the Underlord. Aiden's aura radiates absolute power, compelling all Talos to obey. The very power that once kept the Demon Lord in check is now why Maisto kneels before Aiden, overwhelmed by the strength he hadn't anticipated. Underlord watches with satisfaction, recalling how the world once trembled at his presence, though he quickly notes that his former power is gone. Aiden considers remarking that no one invited Underlord into his body but decides to stay silent, instead praising him, lifting Underlord's spirits. Maisto glances nervously at Aiden, realizing he had forgotten the true monster before him. Aiden confirms he is the Underlord and intends to cool his head, filling Maisto with dread. Meanwhile, Alice completes her initiation ceremony and rushes out, hoping to see Aiden. She freezes at the sight. Aiden stands calm while Meto trembles exhausted on the ground. Confused, she asks about the outcome, and he simply inquires about her awakening. Alice explains the god offered nothing, and her attention drifts to Meto, whom Aiden dismisses as just a pet, leaving her puzzled but accepting it. Underlord watches, horrified at Aiden's casual reference. Alice gently places her hand on Maisto's head, infusing holy power that ignites him in pain. He begs for forgiveness, pleading to end the trial. Aiden recognizes the holy energy. Alice has truly awakened, but Underlord quickly draws his focus back to the present. Realizing the moment demands action, Aiden raises the Bible and tells Alice to close her eyes. She obeys, and he thrusts the sword forward, commanding it to absorb Maisto. Panicked, Maisto barely registers Balza's presence before his body vanishes into the blade. Aiden exhales, relieved, but collapses immediately, prompting Alice to rush to his side. Days later, the Church of the Sacred Flame launches a sweeping purge against heretics. Priests awoken from dream-induced slumber are told Aiden helped Alice defeat a dark mage, and they celebrate her, singing her praises. Watching, Aiden feels his own weakness. Those who betrayed him long ago could have destroyed Maisto effortlessly. He is nowhere near that level yet. His reflection is interrupted as High Priest Curdle, restored by Alice's power, approaches to express gratitude. Because Aiden exposed the heretics, the church acted swiftly. Underlord scoffs at Aiden's humility, but Curdle formally thanks him, crediting him for the saint's return and the church's survival. Aiden humbly calls it repaying a debt, recalling a past life lesson that helping requires no reason. Curdle is pleased and inspired by his conviction. Then Curdle addresses Alice. She is the church's future, deserving the teaching she missed. Given past failures and recent crises, keeping her there isn't enough. They decide to establish a new church in Rem's territory, allowing Alice to continue her training under her family's protection. The new church is also a win for the Rem family, boosting their status, and such institutions are usually built only in powerful cities. Aiden sees it as a fortunate outcome. His efforts to protect people have yielded something truly good. Far away in the forest, a knight grows frustrated, knowing the Red Knight's sentimental and clumsy nature caused problems, but failure isn't an option. He orders everyone to stay alert to ensure Lord Silva becomes the next Archduke. Meanwhile, Ro and Aiden ride a carriage. Ro appears worn out, prompting Aiden to ask why he seems worse off. Ro assures him it isn't that bad, though Aiden recalls that Ro, sent to quietly monitor the Chaos members, ended up cursed with rapid aging, forcing Aiden to rely on Alice's help, which still irritates him. Determined, he mutters about putting Ro through training once they return. Ro then asks about the church treasures. Aiden casually produces a tiny spatial pouch containing everything, including magic silk. Ro is stunned. Such a rare artifact protects items from damage, showing the church's immense power. Aiden then reveals a strange find, a large egg glowing with dark magical energy. Ro frowns, guessing it looks like an ostrich egg, but acknowledges the mana is impossible for one. Neither can determine its origin. Aiden explains the egg came from a strange, untouched room along with an ancient book, which he took out of curiosity. Ro suspects it might hold clues, but Aiden can't read it. Ro then asks if Aiden really just found them or stole them. Slightly guilty, Aiden admits he stumbled upon the dusty room with a strange aura and couldn't resist. Ro loses his temper, insisting the church will demand their return regardless of Aiden's savior status. Aiden jokes about the egg hatching into a golden egg-laying duck. Later, they trudge through snow towards Sadis Hamorte. Ro asks why they aren't heading home, reminding Aiden of promised training. Aiden grins, hinting he craves pain. Ro sighs, wondering why they'd traveled so far. The journey isn't just for the Sadis, it's to reach the Forest of Death, where special ants crucial for top-quality potions live. Approaching the estate, 2 guards block entry, stating the Lord is absent and outsiders aren't allowed. Ro loudly introduces Aiden as the Duke of Rem's eldest son, but the guards remain unmoved. Aiden watches in surprise as Underlord notes the locals see him as a thief who humiliated the Lord's son at a royal banquet, a memory Aiden had completely forgotten. With a grim expression, Aiden grips his sword, determined to get in somehow. Ro, uneasy, asks what he's planning, but Aiden draws the blade before answering. The guards immediately recognize it as Bible, a weapon of great significance, and react with alarm. Still, they insist their lord isn't home and demand he leave, threatening force if he doesn't comply. Ro is outraged, but Aiden remains silent, stepping back deliberately. He draws a deep, forceful breath, startling the guards, but instead of attacking, he shouts Tien's name provocatively. A furious curse echoes from inside. Aiden smiles, the message has landed. Moments later, Tien storms out, furious, and Aiden greets him calmly. Tien demands an explanation, but Aiden gestures at the guards who fumble their excuses. He then asks to talk inside, and Tien agrees. In the guest room, Aiden notes the luxurious furnishings and quietly admires them. He inquires about Margarov Sedis, and Tien explains his father has gone to the slaughter tower due to troubling reports of a high troll appearing near their lands. The news burdens Aiden, stirring memories of the slaughter tower. In his past life, he had been lost in endless conflict, blind to the real causes of chaos. Now, he understands the signs and knows he must grow stronger to prevent disaster. Tien, watching him closely, asks his true reason for coming. Aiden reveals he needs to enter the Forest of Death. Tien reacts with disbelief, warning of its poisons, undead, monstrous creatures, and lethal plants. Yet Aiden sees that danger as precisely why he must go. He needs a rare poisonous plant that grows only there. Tien mutters that Aiden has always been reckless, but this surpasses it, and the timing couldn't be worse. Aiden learns the forest isn't just deadly, it's inhabited. Lawless or impoverished people survive there in a hidden village, cultivating crops and clearing land. Tien, familiar with the area, notes the situation has worsened, bandits have appeared, and villagers are disappearing. He mentions a night order is planned to handle the threat. Though it's a small village in a cursed forest, Tien won't ignore their plight. He tells Aiden he has 2 options: wait until the bandit problem is resolved, or abandon his plan entirely. Tien notices a subtle change in Aiden, realizing he might not be as heartless as he seems and perhaps does care about others. Aiden, thinking about the ant and the villagers, worries that bandits might reach them first and steal the elixir. Resolving to protect them, he decides to help fight the bandits. Curse notices the shift in Aiden's tone, revealing his true intentions. Calm but serious, Aiden tells Tien he's in. Later, as they warm up near the fortress gates, a guard challenges Tien for bringing Aiden along, citing past embarrassments. Tien snaps back, emphasizing the people's safety over pride and scolding the guard for disrespecting someone risking his life. Tien reinforces that he and his father recognize Aiden's worth even if others judge him. He thanks Aiden again, but warns the mission won't be easy. Aiden, relaxed, says he doesn't mind and finds helping people rewarding. Glancing at the team, he questions if their small group is enough for a forest full of bandits. Tien agrees and explains he hired a mercenary to even the odds. Right on cue, a laughing figure approaches. It's Luna. Tien notices her, while Aiden is thrown off, staring in confusion as he tries to place her. Kirst teases him, and Aiden admits he doesn't remember, though he has a sense of her origin. Luna reveals she's a servant of the god of carnage, shocking Ro, who assumes she's a cult priestess. Aiden notes quietly that hiring a mercenary from such a cult is bold. Aine mentions that priests from the cult are supposed to be dangerous, but Luna seems calm and friendly. She gushes that she's heard of Aiden, the Duke of Ram's son, and Aiden greets her warmly, recalling past encounters with cult members. Luna excitedly suggests they punish evil together, hinting at fate. Aiden considers the cult's combat skills and realizes Luna's presence gives them an advantage against the bandits. Tie-in signals, and the team moves toward the Forest of Death. Inside, they follow a cleared path beneath thick trees. The forest seems ordinary at first, but Aiden suddenly senses that something isn't right. A heavy, oppressive presence hung in the air. Aiden asked the Underlord if he felt it. Kurse confirmed HQ sensed it too dark, ominous energy leaking from the underworld itself. The forest felt cursed, poisonous, yet people lived here. Aiden wondered if that annoying rabbit had sent him on purpose, joking or not, and vowed to get back at it. Turning to Tyen, he worried about bringing Luna, since his father hated mercenaries, especially from strange cults. Tyen replied seriously that people's suffering came first. Mercenaries often handle bandits better than knights anyway. Surprised, Aiden realized Tyen was sharper than his dad. Their banter continued, each teasing the other, until Tien stopped abruptly, warning them the first village was near. Stepping out of the trees, they saw ruins, burned, lifeless remnants of the 5 slash-and-burn villages in the Forest of Death. The first was charred, no survivors. Each village they reached was the same ash and silence. By the fourth, hope felt lost, and Tien stood among the wreckage, shaken. Tyen muttered that this was already the 4th village they'd checked, each one as destroyed as the last, not a single survivor. They dug through the rubble, searching. Aiden wondered how something so brutal could happen to simple farming villages. Guards should have been present. Suddenly, a guard shouted, "Survivors." They rushed to a pile of debris and found 2 frightened children hiding. The guard guessed they survived by taking cover under the rubble. Tyen knelt, offering his hand with a gentle smile, introducing them as Cetus Knights here to protect them. The children tearfully clung to hope, the girl to Tyen, the boy insisting their parents were still alive, taken by the attackers. Tien's expression darkened, his voice cold as he demanded to know the bandits' audacity. Soon, more knights entered the forest. Aiden questioned chasing a mere lead, but he knew the last village might hold answers. Movement in the woods caught his attention. Tien cursed quietly. It was time for payback. Men emerged from the trees, surrounding them. Tien ordered everyone to stay put. Aiden and Luna exchanged confused glances. Tien stepped forward. These weren't enemies, and greeted one of the men, remarking it had been a long time. The startled man told his people to lower their weapons, squinting at Tyen as if he barely recognized him, then asked if they'd come to help. He introduced himself as Marcus, leader of the 5th slash-and-burn village. Aiden quietly asked Tyen if they knew each other. Tyen nodded. Marcus had served in their knightly order 10 years ago but retired after a severe injury. Smiling faintly, Tyen teased him for the formal greeting. Marcus apologized, explaining the villages had been under constant attack and barely recognized how much Tien had changed. Tien reassured him, glad Marcus was alive, but Marcus's gaze fell as he hesitantly asked about the other villages. Tien quietly confirmed they were all gone. Marcus sighed and suggested heading to his village first. Upon arrival, chaos reigned. A man panicked beside a wounded person as the wound glowed with dark energy. Aiden quickly offered a holy potion, explaining normal ones wouldn't work. The man, shocked, stared at the glowing vial, asking if Aiden was really giving something so valuable. Aiden raised his voice so everyone could hear, explaining that wounds glowing with dark energy were touched by demons and only holy potions could heal them. He urged those injured to come forward and began handing out the potions, grateful for his subspace stores. Underlord scoffed, accusing Aiden of caring more about money than people. Aiden snapped back, hoping Tien would avenge all the blood spilled. A man then asked if the potion worked on a child. Aiden nodded but froze mid-sentence. Closer inspection revealed the child was Ant in disguise. Meanwhile, near Marcus's village, dark mages moved through the forest. One complained about being cast out, another warned not to touch the one-armed man who was needed. The magician among them didn't answer directly but ordered all food, clothes, and money collected, insisting they only needed the people. He called the bandits fools and commanded them to take the prisoners to a prearranged location, cursing silently as the magician walked on cold and quiet, knowing the bandits would be next. In a dimly lit room, the wounded Ant slowly opened his eyes. Aiden noticed Ant stirring, confused and terrified, convinced he was in danger and that Aiden would eat him. Frantic, Ant claimed he was poisonous and tasteless. Aiden's calm, cheerful demeanor slowly eased his fear, teasing him by calling him an elixir and assuring he wouldn't eat him. He handed Ant a small pouch of powder, and the enticing aroma made Ant hesitant but curious. After a taste, his eyes lit up, delighted by the flavor. Observing this, Aiden quietly admitted that Ant truly enjoyed the lich's remains, while Kirsch looked satisfied his advice had been followed. Aiden then asked how Ant had ended up wounded and alone. Shock hit him realizing Ant had been found unconscious with no one nearby. Ant couldn't understand what happened. Aiden carefully asked if he knew anything about the forest, implying he could help if the truth was shared. Ant remained silent, recalling his parents' warning not to trust humans. Suddenly, alarms rang, village bells and shouts signaled the bandits' return. Aiden cursed under his breath, turning to Ant and explaining that silence would no longer help. For now, he told Ant to stay hidden. Fear gripped the little creature, but hope flickered in his teary eyes. Maybe this human was different, maybe he could save the forest. Meanwhile, the village erupted in chaos. Bandits attacked, leaving destruction behind, while knights formed defensive ranks under their commander's orders. Observing the strengthened enemy forces, the dark mage smirked and raised his hands, summoning corpses from the ground. The knights recoiled in horror at the unnatural sight. Then Lunia appeared, her unnerving smile hinting at madness. Ignoring the knight's warnings, Tien reminded them that no one was better suited than Luna, priestess of divine slaughter. She launched into the air, her glowing mace creating a shockwave that devastated the battlefield. The dark mage, stunned, questioned what she was. Calling upon her god, she struck with relentless force, crushing both bandits and undead. In desperation, the mage sent a dark wave toward her, but she vanished before it reached her, leaving him unable to react. Next, she hovered above him, wild grin intact, her mace crashing down, leaving the ground red. After the battle, soldiers rested. One knight told Tien the remaining bandits were surrounded, but the captives revealed nothing. They had only taken valuables as ordered by the dark mage. With the mage dead, any lead on the villagers was lost. Frustrated, Tien asked Aiden where he had been. Aiden, serious, insisted there was still a way, though time was short. Earlier, he had asked Ant if all his kind were captured. Ant sadly confirmed, but explained he had escaped and seen many imprisoned, both ants and humans. Aiden pieced together that captives were likely for a major ritual, maybe to become undead, and vowed to stop it. Rage edged his voice as he questioned anyone daring to touch his elixir. Tien pressed for the enemy's plan, and Aiden mentioned one escapee had revealed a hidden shelter. Tien insisted they take charge, but Aiden refused to let them face the danger alone, placing a hand on Tien's shoulder. Tears welled in Tien's eyes, admitting he misjudged him. Watching from afar, Aiden wondered if only Ant spoke the truth. Meanwhile, deep in a volcanic crater forest, a man approached the dark mage, asking progress. The mage revealed the main circuit was complete, only the sacrifice's essence needed melting. Wondering about the 5th village squad, the mage smiled slyly at their late arrival, seeing perfect timing. With the return of the 5th village squad, the dark mage believed his creation would be complete, bringing his master closer to their goal. The warrior agreed, silently praying to Lord Sylvetta for patience. Meanwhile, Aiden pondered whether the dark magicians had seized the ant village in the volcano, shocked that the Night King was behind it. He recalled Ant naming Darius Climon as the captor and confirmed the dark magicians had attacked, destroyed the guardian tree, and imprisoned the villagers. Aiden deduced that Dars Climon was likely one of Sylvita's 3 servants and decided to take Ant on reconnaissance. Tien insisted on joining, claiming it was their territory, which annoyed Aiden. Suddenly, monstrous roars echoed as Luna charged into battle, gleefully tearing through the creatures. Aiden noted her strength and wondered why she seemed obedient despite her violence. Curse agreed she was insane, but Aiden explained that Luna's power and skill suggested she was more than a normal priestess, possibly a high-level one. Realizing no iron-blooded saint had appeared, Aiden resolved to watch her carefully. In the crater, they reached Ant's destroyed village. Ant confirmed the fairy tree had been cut down, its spiritual power exploited by the dark magicians. Aiden questioned why so many humans and fairies were needed. Nearby, Anoa recognized Dares and felt relief, while Tien, furious, prepared to strike. Aiden stopped him, noting Dares was not alone. 7 dark mages stood with him, making a direct attack impossible. Aiden understood that the Night King wasn't ordinary, on par with Sila's power. Even a half-master Dares was stronger than anyone he'd faced, making a fight with villagers too risky. Considering another approach, he asked Curse why he was there. Curse revealed a strange sensation under a tree, something that would shock even Aiden. Realizing the significance, Aiden quickly formed a plan. He confirmed Ant's knowledge of the forest, pressed Tien to commit fully to helping his people, and then sought Luna's aid, promising excitement. Suddenly, monstrous roars erupted. Giant spiders attacked Tien, while more monsters charged from the right. Luna chased them gleefully, treating it as a game. Ant asked if Aiden intended to scare the dark mages. Aiden shook his head. His goal was to awaken a true monster. Deep underground, a massive snake stirred from centuries of slumber. Ant, trembling, admitted shame and anger, blaming himself for his village. Aiden drew his sword, vowing vengeance, and learned Ant's name was Ease. Ease offered a rare treasure, the Ant's tears, as a reward, which Aiden accepted with a smirk, advising him to focus on himself. Channeling magical energy into his sword, Aiden summoned the spirit Maisto. Though incomplete, Maisto was strong enough for the task. He sent the spirit to collect poisonous lizards from the lower forest and deliver them to the crater, reflecting on the advantage of a loyal, high-ranked assistant. The experience strengthened his resolve to grow even more powerful. Turning to EZ, he signals it's time to move. They must save the village. In the crater of an extinct volcano, Dares waits, frustrated by the silence from the 5th village squad. A ripple in a puddle alerts him. He braces for thieves, but the ground trembles and waves of monsters appear. Alarmed, he orders the lab protected. Tien, furious and terrified, charges recklessly, aiming for our boy. Explosions reveal ogres fleeing a mercenary, Maisto, who drives them in panic toward the lab. Dares redirects his soldiers to hold back the advancing wave. Meanwhile, Aiden and Easy slip quietly into the village, navigating narrow paths to an inner chamber. Easy's eyes brighten as he spots imprisoned ants. He rushes to them, relieved yet anxious, noticing too few remained. The ants reveal the missing ones were taken by guards for sacrifice. Easy bows his head, weighed down by guilt, while Aiden quietly reassures him it's not his fault. Stepping forward, Aiden gestures for the others to back off and slices through the bars, freeing the captives. He immediately asks if they know where the missing ones were taken, hoping to uncover the enemy's plan. Aiden believes reaching the captive's location will reveal the enemy's larger plans. Meanwhile, the battle at the laboratory intensifies. Dares fights fiercely, surrounded, as blood red, green, black soaks the ground. Chaos seeps into the earth, awakening a massive dormant snake. Its eyes snap open at the scent of blood, and hunger drives it upward through the soil. Tremors shake the surface. Dares frowns, uncertain, while Aiden smiles knowingly. He realizes the basilisk, king of vipers, has risen. The monstrous serpent bursts forth, towering over Dares, who steels himself and charges undeterred. Curse explains that the basilisk's venom could fell even a master swordsman, speculating it hibernated weakened and its poisonous air has seeped into the forest for ages. Aiden notes it's strange for a basilisk to inhabit these woods, while Curse grumbles at being trapped in a weak body. The creature growls menacingly as Dares holds his ground, committed to his master's plan. Far away, in a dark lab, a magician watches the chaos, seeing the monster wave as an opportunity to accelerate his ruby's creation. Aiden suddenly appears, grabbing the magician and inspecting a glowing stone, realizing it matches the ant's description of a special stone. As he holds it, the ruby bursts into a brilliant glow and merges with him. Surprised, Aiden examines his palm. No visible change appears, and he treats the stone as another burden. Curse, annoyed, questions whether Aiden sees him as mere luggage, while Aiden decides he must resolve the situation quickly. Back on the battlefield, the basilisk's venomous breath scatters the dark magicians. Dares shudders, paralyzed by the poisonous fog, wishing he could borrow his master's power for just a moment. Clenching his sword, he lets out a war cry and strikes. Gasping, he feels a fleeting sense of success and wonders if he's closer to his master's level. Suddenly, a strange voice congratulates him for reviving the swordmaster's legacy. Then a blade pierces him. It's Aiden, coldly declaring Dares should rest in hell, calling him a loyal dog. Agonized, Dares demands his identity. Aiden reveals he was once the master's comrade, then commands his cursed sword to consume Dares. The sword absorbs him completely, leaving only the weapon behind. Aiden reflects on Dares' loyalty, thinking about Sylveta and his fortunate servants. Turning to the fallen basilisk, he's surprised by how easily he defeated it. Curse, amused, questions why Aiden entered its mouth. Grinning, Aiden explains he couldn't miss the chance fangs for weapons, skin for armor, venom for poison immunity. With the remains claimed, he considers visiting the ants. Curse interrupts, serious, pointing to the sky, muttering that a mere snake shouldn't harbor such power. Aiden notices a glowing object, a demonic soul stone. Holding it, he realizes it contains dark energy, explaining the monster's strength. But how did it end up inside the basilisk? He pockets the stone, but his subspace trembles. A pendant from his teacher appears, reacting to the stone. The two objects pull together and merge, leaving Aiden astonished. Aiden wonders if everything was meant to happen. A system message notes the pendant's magic and dark affinity has increased, its full power unrevealed, and it is soulbound. Realizing it once belonged to dark magicians, he angrily throws it, but it immediately returns to his chest. Frustrated, he tries to bite it off, interrupted by rabbits appearing to congratulate him on clearing the dungeon. Aiden glares, demanding if they really claimed he cleared it and where the dungeon core is. Tearful, the rabbits urge him to calm down. Nearby, an owl watches the pendant silently. Aiden confirms whether the forest functions as a dungeon. Rabbits nervously admit it does. Aiden recalls lands can transform into dungeons if enough monster energy lingers and realizes this forest fits that pattern. He questions rabbits sharply about directing him to the dangerous ant village. Panicked, Rabbits offers frantic excuses, insisting it was a misunderstanding. Aiden coldly decides the hat merchant should know. The mere mention terrifies Rabbits, imagining the ruthless leader deciding his fate. Overwhelmed, he kneels, begging forgiveness and promising to make amends. Aiden watches with satisfaction but sets one condition. Rabbits must sign an exclusive contract, binding him to a single merchant for life, selling all dungeon items exclusively and ensuring complete confidentiality. Horrified and humiliated, Rabbits realizes he has no choice. Rabbits would rather risk everything than sign the life-binding contract, but Aiden's gaze leaves no escape. Completely cornered, Rabbits sulks while Aiden quietly celebrates, planning to extract every coin possible. Suddenly, Tien charges toward him, stormy and determined. Before Aiden can react, Tien places a hand on his shoulder and thanks him, admitting that without Aiden's ruthless plan, saving people and his knights might have been impossible. Aiden internally grumbles at the phrase, ruthless plan, but takes a token Tien hands him, a symbol of his family's loyalty and readiness to support him. Aiden considers how valuable such influential allies might be and wonders whether Tide would approve, but Tyan insists saving their family is what matters. Smirking, Aiden asks about the ants. Tyan shows little interest, saying they aren't his concern but is willing to hear any plans Aiden proposes.